Hi, I'm Paul Steyer.
And I'm Angus O'Sullivan.
And we made Tiny World the musical, the game, for 11 Dare 23. And we're just going to do a quick commentary of the game, just play it through once or maybe twice. I don't know. We'll see how we go. And just talk about the process and how it came to be. So yeah, here we go. So this is just the start. I mean, how did you approach the music, Angus?
Yeah, well, we at concept stage we talked about what the idea was and this tiny world of the relationship. We sort of came up with this idea for a duet. So when I sort of went back to my studio and started thinking about how to actually interpret that musically, I just wrote a melody and sent that off to Paul, and Paul started writing some lyrics, and we put the two together. It was a bit more involved than that, obviously. But
I remember there was one point at which I messaged you or something, or called you, and you were like, "No, I'm in the zone. Go away." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Something cool is going to come my way soon." So I suppose we kind of missed a thing where, this whole thing was to try and make a game that's also musical, and to make it work. I suppose I'll talk a little bit about what's on the screen, right? So clearly we've got this little paddle that's moving with the mouse. The world is supposed to be representational of a world that is a relationship. So there's a reason why it's never a blue-green earth color. I didn't want it to really be so clearly defined as that, at least not at first. If you actually win and you get everything at the end, it actually does turn into that. But the idea was that actually the colors would be more representational of the emotions in the relationship at a time. So clearly, we've got, just to explain some of the interface and elements that might not be so clear, we've got these expanding circles here that you can see, and essentially they're red. Until they hit the paddle, they're showing what's happening. They're showing what's happening with the current wave of things. What you're currently trying to catch or deflect, and it's showing whether you're doing well or badly. And then when they expand past that, it's showing whether the line that's coming out that you're actually hearing is the good version or the bad version. And as you can see, we've just lost. And essentially, the world will change color based on whether you're doing, as you miss stages or you hit them. And pretty much each line, if you miss one, you lose the whole line. If you miss enough, then the whole screen turns black. And for the second level, for instance, it turns very much red, denoting anger, pretty much. That sort of plays into how the music worked as well. Like at the beginning, at concept stage, we sort of figured out that we wanted it in sort of three levels. Now, sort of the three stages of the relationship. The sort of initial kind of glowing stage where you're sort of blocking everything out, and then sort of the next stage where you're sort of getting a bit sick of each other and wanting to let everything in, and then the last stage where you sort of you need to find that balance between the two to create this sustainable relationship. Sustainable living.
And so that gave me a structure for the music. I had a basic sort of ABA kind of structure where I sort of developed a melody for the first section, and then sort of developed it a bit further in a different direction for the second section, and then sort of came back to the first idea, but in a different way for the third section. Yeah,
and I think what was really interesting, because you gave me melody lines but weren't really sure how it was going to be implemented, is kind of
the impression I got as we were making it. But it was really interesting because as we went, the second section very much felt like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, yes, this is an argument. And the third, like, because it was very much one and then the other person, it was very much backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
While the third section was very much overlapping.
Yeah.
There was actually a bit of an issue where in communicating where the lyrics landed, especially in section 3, because there was no clear place where one line ended and the next one began. I don't know. It was just really interesting getting that and going, oh yeah, I know what to do with this.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of an unusual experience for me also because I'd normally set a piece of music to lyrics, so it was sort of an interesting experience writing music for lyrics that were yet to come and sort of modulating it as we went along. Yeah, it was an interesting challenge.
Yeah, and what was interesting is because like I'm coming from a place where I know, like if I know what the beat is, I can make lyrics for it. But I was very much like looking to like have lyrics at the start. Yeah, it was very interesting. And so you'll notice here there's a little bit of text now, which wasn't there in the original version, and that a lot of people were getting very confused. Yeah, I was really hoping that I could make a game without any instructions, and up until this point, oh, by the way, that's also my favorite like gameplay bit, because one of the options ends in monsoon, and then this whole like barrage of balls comes down at the same time and it looks like a monsoon, and I was very happy with that. Yeah, and that was the other thing that was very interesting, actually timing all these different the balls to coming in at the right time.
I think that was for me also, because I didn't actually get to play this game until after it was all said and done, really. And I think that was something that I really enjoyed about it, that the balls were sort of in time with the music, and it sort of added a different level.
It was just a lot of fun to put them together, and there was some really interesting things because like there was a question at first where I was trying to figure out whether to make it so that the balls hit the world if you miss them on the beat, and to be honest, I measured the distance between the paddle and the world to be exactly 2 beats on a speed of 1 for a ball, so I could actually then change the speed. I would know the difference in how many beats between hitting one and the other one. And then as I went forward, like I was able to then I was then wondering whether I was trying to time things to the paddle or to the earth, and it became fairly apparent fairly quickly that to the paddle was more useful because that's what most people get. The other thing that was interesting was actually I want to be able to skip to part 2. Why developers? Why did you do this? Wait, that was me. We'll get to it in a little bit, but you see that there's runs, and often the last one in a run, the last ball in a run of the balls coming in will actually be changing whether you win or lose, not the line that's just about to come in, but the one after. And that's because sometimes the audio that we recorded was, so for instance, this guy right here was probably for the one after, not the one that you'd expect it to be. And so that's simply because sometimes we had audio where we had to start at a beat early because the singers would be slightly off time, or like, and it's because we had to record it so quickly, right?
Yeah, I mean, the recording process is probably something else we should talk about.
Yeah, but, that was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a real logistical challenge. So just getting all of this together, getting the lyrics and the melody working together, so that when it came to time to record, because we had a specific window to do our recording in, when it came to that time, we had sort of very limited time to actually sort of prepare a session properly and quality control everything. So
kudos to the singers. Kudos to Gid and
absolutely.
Emma for getting this so quickly.
They did
because
a great job.
We seriously showed them the music and then like pretty much had them record it straight away. So they did incredibly well considering. And I suppose anything else really? We had this really interesting thing where like very much at the last minute, we realized that our two singers couldn't actually do the same time, and so I ended up having to find a new singer at the last minute, which is was a bit sad, but because you kind of want these things to work out first time.
But I guess once the recording had been done, the next logistical problem for me was editing
it all up,
all the takes and splitting them up, and that was a lot of work as well. And getting the sort of the takes to match each other, and that took a lot of time, a lot of editing time we didn't really have. So through all of this process, I think it was about midnight on actually I think it was more like 1 or 2 a.m. on the last day, so 8 hours to go before it was due to submit. Up until that point we just had the voices. There was no backing music at all. So at about 2 a.m. on the last day I started writing the rest of the music,
which is why it's somewhat less complex than the rest of it.
I think it works.
It works very well. No, there's that last day, I was very much like, there were points where I'm trying to get ahead of Angus, just make sure that but then there were points where I'm like, okay, no, I need to go back and do the main menu or do the small little things that have to be doing, or make it a little bit prettier because it wasn't quite pretty enough, and just do those basic things. And so there was just this backwards and forwards. I'm like, okay, I'm ahead of where Angus is. No, now I'm behind, and it was fun getting it all together.
It was fun.
I
had a good time.
Also, thanks to Chloe who did an edit of some of the lyrics. Some of them were a bit too crazy. We should have talked about the section 2 lyrics. So we did this thing where I heard the section 2 lyrics and I heard an argument that Angus had not necessarily thought of when he wrote them. And that just made everything more complicated in terms of we had this issue where I should have had Angus send me the score to write the lyrics on to start off with, and didn't do this. And so by the time that I had the lyrics in, there was no indication of what corresponded to what. And we ended up wasting a lot of time actually getting that figured out. And so it kind of we muddled through, but it would have been better if we hadn't done that way.
And probably because of that confusion in there also, it didn't help with the recording.
No.
Made the recording process a bit more confused.
Well, we could have given them some rehearsal time.
Otherwise.
I think we should probably leave it there. Okay. So that is Tiny World, the musical, the game, the commentary. Bye. Cheers.